Today on Montel, parents who will stop at nothing to save their dying children.
The doctor said she'd live to be 2.
Unwilling to accept that, a father invests his life savings into finding a cure, and guess what?
It's an approved drug. It was approved about 6 months ago.
Plus,
my baby is dying.
They said it was just chickenpox. See how a mother fought to make doctors uncover the truth.
As a mother, you don't want to see your child suffer.
That's what's coming up right now on Montel. And thank you so much for joining us today. You know, chicken pox, ear infections, and colds are just some of the growing pains of childhood. But what happens when your child becomes seriously ill and a doctor has no idea what to do about it? Now, my first guests say that her nightmare began when her 11-month-old daughter was diagnosed with a rare disease. It's called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Take a look at this.
Julie was diagnosed at 10.5 months old with pediatric epilepsy. So the doctors prescribed phenobarbital for her. And I would crush it up and put it in her baby food to her twice a day. And 2 weeks after she was on the phenobarbital, she developed Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a very severe allergic reaction to medication. It can be caused by almost any medicine, including over-the-counter ibuprofen products. The first thing that happened was her eyes swelled shut, and then she was running a persistent fever. And then she developed blisters, which spread all across her body. We didn't know what was wrong with her, but the rash was spreading and the blisters became confluent, and she looked actually like she was deep fried. When Julie entered the hospital with Stevens-Johnson syndrome, they diagnosed her with a case of chickenpox. I was terrified. I knew there was something more going on because I'd never seen chickenpox like that. Thank God a nurse came in and she told the doctor that this did not look like chickenpox, that it looked like Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and it was devastated because I found out then that there was a very good chance that she was not going to survive, and if she did, that she would probably be blind. I started the Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Foundation so that other people wouldn't go through this alone, and so that we could get the warning signs out and perhaps save someone's life.
My God. Please welcome Jean to the show. I can't thank you enough for being here, because right now I think you're going to put some word out to this country about something that people are not aware of. Before we go into your daughter for a second, I want you to tell me what it is you know right now about Stevens-Johnson syndrome.
We know that Stevens-Johnson syndrome it's such a severe, life-threatening reaction, and they say that it's very rare. They say it's about 3 per million, but we started the Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Foundation. We hear from people around the world, and once a person goes into the reaction, it has to run its course, which can take 2 to 6 weeks, and there is no treatment for it. The only treatment for it is supportive care, and they put them on IVs and give them IV fluid, antibiotics to prevent secondary infection. They're trying to keep them from going into septic shock, which is how we lose most of them.
Right. Because once that happens, then it just is like a reaction, a nuclear reaction, just
exactly.
keeps feeding on itself, correct?
Right, right.
I can't imagine, the first 11 months of your daughter's life were fine, right?
Right.
And that's when she developed what they called was pediatric epilepsy.
Exactly,
right?
Yes.
So you would do what any other parent would do. Take your child to the doctor. The doctor says, hey, I've got the medication that'll help that. Take this.
Right, right. And I even asked what were the side effects, because I was concerned about that, because phenobarbital was such a strong drug to me, and I thought, well, will this affect her? I even asked, will this affect her if when she grows up? Will it affect her having children? No, you don't have to worry about anything. I said, well, is there anything I should look for? No, the only side effect is drowsiness.
And then you started seeing what were the side effects?
Well, the very first thing that happened was her eyes swelled shut. And I thought that maybe there was something, and it was in one eye first, and I thought, well, maybe she's got something in it, so I kept looking, and I didn't see anything, and I had to go to work, and I checked, and she was running a fever, and so my mother was watching her, and by the time I got home from work that night, both eyes were completely swollen shut.
And we know now, and this is hindsight, okay?
Right.
But we know now that during that process, what was the damage that was being done to her eyes?
She was going blind. And yet, for 4 days, she was diagnosed still with chicken pox, and so the first thing they did was start an IV because she was dehydrated, and they put phenobarbital in the IV.
So then that just exacerbated it.
Right, it's like pouring gasoline on top of a fire. Here she is already burning from the inside out. Now let's pump it in her veins because now her mouth is filled with blisters and she can't swallow any longer. So she can't take a bottle or she can't get any liquid.
And I would think that a baby, I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor, but a baby walks in looking like that, I'm not calling that chicken pox.
No.
I mean, unless I've been in the third world, I've never seen chicken pox like that.
I had never.
So it was, but for the grace of God, you had this nurse, correct?
Right.
And why did that nurse know what was going on?
This nurse had come in and she told the doctor, you know, I just don't think that this is the chicken pox. And she was getting frustrated, and you could tell. And finally she said, you know, this baby, it looks like she has Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And the doctor said, why would you say that? She says, because we have another child on the floor with it right now.
And then what did they say?
She said, let's take a look at him, go back and take a look at him and see if it looks like the same thing. And then she left, and she was going out of town. And so I was so terrified, I didn't know what to do. And the next doctor that came in was a resident, and I was crying by then. I knew something terrible was happening, and I didn't remember what she said. And I said to him, he said, what's the matter with you? Why are you so upset? And I said, my baby is dying. And I could see.
And what he said?
And he said, she just has chicken pox. And I said, no, she doesn't. The doctor, I lied because I thought, well, maybe they're not listening to this nurse. So I said, she said she has something called Johnson's disease. And he said, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And I said, yes, that's it. He immediately left and brought in an infectious disease doctor who walked in the door and took one look at her and said, absolutely, it's SJS.
Oh, my God.
Stop the phenobarbital.
Immediately.
Immediately. But it was too late.
I'm going to take a little break. We'll be back right after this.
She can go from fully sighted to legally blind within a matter of minutes.
The kids at school make fun of me, talk behind my back.
Her feelings can be hurt like any other child.
Let's say this clearly. We talk about phenobarbital, but we also know that this is not specific to one particular drug. Someone in this audience could have this reaction tomorrow and not know you're walking around living with it, right?
That's right. Absolutely. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't discriminate against anyone. We hear from people from around the world, and many of our cases that are reported to us are children, especially children taking over-the-counter ibuprofen products.
Do you hear me? Over-the-counter drugs. Once there was the reaction took place, without ever taking any medication, this just can't come back on its own. That was based on the reaction to what you had. Now that that's done, all damage is done, and now we're dealing with the residual from that damage.
Exactly.
Is that it?
It's all residual damage. And she's got scarring in her esophagus. The cilia inside of her ears was completely burned off, so she has to visit an ear, nose, and throat doctor about every 3 months to have that cleared out.
She lost the vision in one eye, and her other eye?
Her other eye, her vision fluctuates. It can be pretty good, or it could go within an hour to legally blind. So there's times where she has to use her cane. She cannot stand any light. She's very photophobic. The light hurts her. She doesn't play outside.
Hurts her skin, hurts her eye.
Hurts her skin. Her pores are scarred shut. She retains heat in the summertime. She's very cold in the wintertime. She has, in particular, pain from the light to her eyes. She lives every single day in excruciating pain. But
as a mom, what do? How do you deal with this?
It's hard. As a mother, you don't want to see your child suffer, and it breaks my heart. I've gone in the bathroom, shut the door, and cried.
Part of what, though, when you talk about this, and then I hear from time to time when you guys are out, the reaction that adults have the nerve to make towards you and your child? Talk about this for a second.
Oh, when she was little, I had her in a stroller in a store. I was in a department store shopping, and a woman came up to me, and she was just carrying on. First, I didn't realize she was talking about my daughter. She says, I cannot believe at the top of her lungs that she would bring her in here with that. And I was looking around thinking, who are they talking about? And then I looked down, and she was looking at Julie in the stroller. And I said, what are you talking about? She says, well, she's got conjunctivitis. That is highly contagious. Like, how could you bring her in here? I said, she doesn't have conjunctivitis. I said, and you know what? She may be blind, but she's not deaf. And I really would appreciate it if you wouldn't speak like that in front of her. And she walked out of the store, and
craziness. Look,
crazy.
Julie is now 13 years old and is learning to live with SJS. I want you to take a look at this.
Living with Stevens-Johnson syndrome is very difficult. Not being able to see where I'm going, not being able to do my work in school because I can't see the books and the papers.
she has no vision at all in her right eye. She has some vision in the left eye, but it fluctuates. She can go from fully sighted to legally blind within a matter of minutes. She has to wear sunglasses indoors and outdoors. She has secondary asthma, a chronic cough. She has scarring of her skin. For the most part, she goes around like any other kid, but she does have days that can be very, very bad.
Today in school, I had a substitute teacher. She gave me this paper to everybody in the class, and I couldn't see the paper. And I said, I can't see this paper. But then she told me, I never want to hear you say can't. And she kept saying it, and I really didn't, know what to do. It wasn't cool. The kids at school make fun of me, talk behind my back. They look at me weird, and they call me names.
You want your child to be accepted, and she was treated as though there was something terribly wrong with her. She has a vision problem, and that's really basically all her problem is. She understands everything everyone says to her, and her feelings can be hurt like any other child.
I'm gonna take a little break. We'll meet Julie when we come back. We'll be back right after this. This is so rare that a lot of people don't know about it, and the fact that we have you here to be able to share it with people, you just educated a whole country just like that.
Really?
Yeah, really. Well, again, because Jean just said, Julie is extremely light sensitive, and I'm gonna not play a trick on you at home, but we have to do this. I'm gonna ask you to dim the lights, we'll bring them down. And it may be a little difficult for you to see at home, but you know what, just bear with us. I'm doing this basically, really honestly, so Julie can have an opportunity to feel comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julie to the show. How you doing? Montel, you got me? Come on. Have a seat, girlfriend. Right here. Yes, ma'am. Right there. How you doing? Good. Good. Talk to me for a second about how hard this has been for you. Can you?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Having SJS has been very difficult for me because, like, the kids at school, they don't treat me the same.
And they make fun of you, the glasses?
Yeah,
right?
They do. They look at me all weird, and they give me dirty looks, and because no one else is allowed to wear glasses, and they're like, why do you get to wear glasses? And
have you taken, has your principal or your teacher given you the opportunity to walk into the school, maybe do an assembly and say, guys, I'm tired of answering the daggone question. I got a problem, and I don't care if you like it or not, but because I have a problem, I get to wear these glasses, and y'all can shut up. And you know, I gotta tell you, one of the things that you're doing today, I don't know if you even know this or not. Mom, I think, gets it, but you have to understand, this is so rare that a lot of people don't know about it, and the fact that we have you here to be able to share it with people, you just educated a whole country just like that.
really?
Yeah, really. But, and it's tough because I almost feel like I should be talking to your mom about this and not you, but I know you've been through enough to understand this. They've given you a diagnosis or prognosis that eventually you will probably lose the sight in your other eye, right?
Yeah.
And every day, what's that like for you now? Because every day you get up and some days you can see, some days you can't, right?
Well, for me, I just have to be hopeful, really.
Right, and hope that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But we have to be prepared for every situation, correct?
Yes.
Now, what's this out here that you didn't finish your Braille classes? He what? He what?
They didn't finish them. Like
They
I
didn't
had
finish them?
The vision teacher. She went to a different district, and then.
And it's tough for some vision teachers to understand because you do get your vision back and then you lose it, then you get it back, right?
Yeah, I annoyed my vision teacher.
Really? Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Let me tell you something right now. We've been thinking about you a lot here, girlfriend, trying to figure out a way to see if we could help a little bit. We've already contacted a company or a place that's a Colorado Center for the Blind, and they are willing to assist you in learning Braille in your school. But not only that, but they're also going to pair you up with a blind mentor if you want. And that mentor can assist you in ways like to help you if you want, spend some time and shadow them. They can at least start helping you think about those things that are coming down the road, maybe. Not that we're trying to say that that's going to happen, because we're all going to hope and pray that it never happens and you don't have to deal with this. But I'd rather be the kind of person who has all the knowledge I need, all the information I need, be prepared for whatever happens. So we're going to pair you up with this person. They're going to be with you. They're going to travel with you. You're going to be doing things like watching them go through their daily life so that you can kind of get a feel for what's happening ahead of time. Also, in addition to that program, they offer an 8-week intensive summer training program that you have a full scholarship to, that you get to go to for free and be a participant in this. So they're going to work with you for 8 weeks intensively to prep you. And along with that, because people have been inspired by what it is you're doing, LowerMyBills.com has decided to give you guys a $5,000 donation to your foundation. And they're doing that today. And, you know, LowerMyBills.com is a free online service for consumers to compare the lowest rates on their monthly bills. And then when people, you know, heard about your story, they decided they wanted to pump in and give you something. And, you know, I'm going to throw this in. I asked Mom tonight if you would enjoy it. But you tell me, you know, girlfriend, anything in the city that you want to do tonight, I can have happen for you. I'm going to make it happen. But we got you 2 tickets to go to Lion King if you want to see that.
Oh, my gosh.
Is that cool? All right, that's happening, okay? So that's going to happen. All right, I'm going to take a little break. When we come back, a 14-year-old girl that's allergic to food. I'm saying food, any kind of food. Take a break. We'll be back right after this. Thank you so much for being here.